to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Leadership Insights Radio.
Thanks for joining in with us today. I'm Wade Taylor, and I'm happy to be learning today from Henry Herz. He is a partner at Lean Business Solutions. I encourage you to learn more about all they can do to help your company be more efficient at www.sdleansolutions.com. They provide training following the Lean and Six Sigma methodologies. Every company has processes. Every company has employees that need to be engaged in efficiently doing those processes along with the C-suite. And so every company can benefit from all this training. And I just want to emphasize, thanks to some government grants, if you're qualified, this training is free. So be sure to reach out to Henry and the good people at Lean Business Solutions. Again, find them online at www.sdleansolutions.com. You can also listen to Henry's great instruction on the last couple of segments by tuning into the archives. We do have everything archived here, 724 at WSRadio.com. In the rest of the show, I want to get a little bit into Henry's story. So we're going to talk about some of the lessons he's learned from the world of business, learn how he has implemented lean strategies into his own businesses. But I want to kind of hear the entire story. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and I want to find out, Henry, what did you want to be when you grew up? Let's maybe jump to college. What were you thinking about doing when you first started on this path?
Well, it's funny that you qualified that, because my original answer as a child, I wanted to be a garbage truck driver.
Oh, very cool.
Yes. I don't know what it is about little boys and garbage trucks, but they're cool, and I thought, what a fun thing. Pleased to say that I ended up going to college and studying. I got a degree in operations research and industrial engineering from Cornell. So operations research and industrial engineering is exactly the right kind of education you'd want if you're going to end up helping companies be more efficient. It's about studying how things work mathematically, optimizing, figuring out how to make them work better.
So it sounds like you've always had an interest in how does the world work, but then also kind of a drive to, but how can I improve that a little bit?
I have, and it's interesting because after college, I ended up being a defense analyst, and I gradually over time shifted into software development and then into web application development. So I started where I thought where I wanted to be, and gradually drifted over time. But then about 2.5 years ago, I ended up getting my Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification, and I decided, you know what, this is really my calling. Software development is fine, but I think this would be really enjoyable for myself. So I do it anyway when I walk around every day, so I might as well be getting paid for it. So.
And so you're an example that we often think of engineers as being non-people, I guess I could say that. But it sounds like you liked a little bit of human interaction and liked seeing how the efficiencies you could see could improve the lives of others.
Oh yeah, I mean you couldn't do this job without interacting with people. It's all about the people.
Right. But let's jump back to the defense industry and such, because we always learn different lessons along our life. And so thinking about how you're running your business now, what were some insights that you gleaned from working, and I'm assuming if you're working in defense analysis, you're working in corporate America, you're working with think tanks or something like that.
That's right. Well, one important lesson I learned is that be very careful what you measure, because that's going to drive people's behavior. Now, that can be a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're doing software development and you want to encourage people to be more productive. So you give them some sort of performance metric that says, I'm going to grade you on how many lines of code you complete in a day or something along those lines. Well, what could happen if you don't have a counter metric to balance it out? You could end up with lots of lines of code that are filled with bugs, right? So you wouldn't want to just have a singular metric that says productivity. You'd want to have a counterbalancing metric of an adequate level of quality. Otherwise, you've solved one problem and created another for yourself. So people are very adaptive, and very clever at gaming. So you have to be very clever about what metrics, what performance goals you give people, because they'll give you exactly what you ask for, and you better ask for the right things.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the head of, I think it's Progressive Insurance. They're asking him how he made the company so successful, and he goes, it was easy. I just made sure the people understood what I wanted them to do. The hard part was me figuring out what I wanted them to do.
Exactly.
And so that's with you, and, set the metrics appropriately.
I would also say that the corollary lesson is you as the leader figure out the what, but you give your people the freedom to figure out the how.
Okay.
Don't micromanage it. They know how to do it better than you. You could be the smartest guy in the world. You're the CEO. It doesn't matter. You're not the world expert on that task that they do day in and day out. They are. So trust your people. Tell them the objectives, but let them figure out how to achieve the objectives.
Very good point. I've also heard that related to the millennials. We've got the boomer generation instructing the millennials, but afraid to give them some freedom. But these millennials have access to all this technology that they've internalized. And instead of saying, hey, go make me a better buggy for the horse, tell them, go get me something to get me from point A to point B, and they might come back with a jetpack because you gave them the freedom to come up with the best solution.
Exactly.
So there's a great lesson. After being a defense analyst, you're definitely dealing a lot with software. All of us these days, our companies are computerized. We've got stuff on the cloud. We're dealing with software. Any lessons specifically about software implementation or related themes that you could share?
Yeah, so the single most problematic aspect of software development is you're trying to give the customer what they want. The ideal customer up front tells you this is the functionality I want. I want my software application to do this, 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 and this. It's a rare person that can actually do that completely and accurately. Usually we get, I'll tell you when I see it. I know it when I see it. So unfortunately, software, the traditional way of developing software is known as waterfall, where you gather all the requirements and then you design a software that will meet those requirements, and then you actually code to that design, and then you test, and then you deliver it to the customer, and then the customer says, well, that's nice. I know I said green, but I meant sea green, not forest green, or I'm making a facetious example. You never hit what they've asked for because they didn't give you a complete spec at the beginning. And it's not necessarily their fault either, because typically the customer isn't a software developer, and it's a moving target. So where I'm going with this is there's a new way of doing software development called Agile. It's not that new, but it's relatively new, newer than waterfall, where you go in much shorter chunks. So instead of a waterfall where you do all the requirements, you take a small subset of the requirements and you just design those and code those and test those, and you get the customer a chunk of functionality that they can play with much, much sooner, and then you get that feedback. So if you think about all the zigging and zagging you might have to do chasing the customer's requirements, if you use a more agile approach, you're going to have less zigging and zagging. You're going to get done faster. And Scrum is one of the techniques of agile software development, and Scrum is really very lean in its approach. It involves the customer, and there's a lot less waste in it.
Well, I thank you for sharing those insights. That'll help all business people interact with their programmers and have a better understanding of what the programmer is trying to do. But a broad lesson I'm also taking from that is just have patience and understand any software implementation is going to have tweaks to it. So don't get frustrated and think, oh, gee, if this didn't implement perfectly the first time, something horrible must be happening here.
Right, but do invest the time up front to try and get as clear a picture of your requirements as you can.
Okay, very good. So great insights about, setting proper metrics. We've got about 2 minutes left, so we're going to continue this conversation in the next segment. But what was your next step in your career before you started Lean Business Solutions, and what lessons did you learn from that briefly?
Okay, so prior to that, I was leading software development teams. I'm a project management professional, so a great lesson that I learned is the best way to keep your customers happy is to stay close to them, to communicate with them frequently. As a project manager, as a handy little tip, it's so easy to do and yet it's so valuable. have a weekly meeting with your customer, a phone call, whatever. Have a weekly meeting with your team. Document what you covered. Have an agenda. Have action items that are due. And basically, on a weekly basis, provide a status update to your customer to let he or she know this is what we were supposed to do. This is what we got done. Here are some roadblocks that we hit. If you keep your customer informed, they're going to be much happier. Even if it's bad news. Think about it. If you're a customer and software is going to be a week late, would you rather find out the day it's due it's going to be a week late, or would you rather find out 2 weeks ahead of time so that you have possibly some room to maneuver and figure out some way to mitigate the problem that late delivery will cause? Of course you want to know about it earlier. So communicate early and frequently with your customer leads to much happier customers.
And also, as you mentioned, communicate with the employees. So it's all about communication. Business is about relationships, and we want to manage those the best we can. In the next segment, we're going to learn more about Henry Hertz's story, how he became a partner at Lean Business Solutions, how he is implementing the strategies of Lean in his company, as well as these strategies he's learned in the past about staying close to the customer, giving the customer what they want, and making sure that you're measuring the appropriate and a wide enough range of things that you actually get the results from your employees that you want to get. Again, you can learn more about Henry at sdleansolutions.com, sdleansolutions.com. We'll be back in a moment here on the Leadership Insights radio show, powered by WSRadio.com.
Muffin tops, love handles, spare tires. These lumps and bumps cause your belt to slide in the wrong direction, and your little black dress to be too little. No matter how hard you work at losing them, they're immune to diet and exercise. Something other than your belt has got to give. Cool Sculpting at Hillcrest Dermatology is more than a ray of hope. It's a loophole in the laws of gravity. Dr. William Heimer of Hillcrest Dermatology uses this revolutionary new technology to target and freeze stubborn fat cells, so your body can eliminate them naturally over just a few weeks, without surgery or downtime. Most patients of Hillcrest Dermatology see an undeniable reduction of fat after just one Cool Sculpting treatment. It's FDA cleared, safe, and totally cool. So what are you waiting for? Starting today, reclaim the real you with Cool Sculpting at Hillcrest Dermatology. Call 619-299-0700 to schedule your consultation, and visit us online at drheimer.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Connected World Magazine is dedicated to reporting on the next generation of M2M and connected devices. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Written for the fast-paced, device-enthused individual or business, Connected World Magazine provides unique insight and analysis to all things connected. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Connected World. Living the connected life has never been easier.
Touch the screen.
Amazing.
No, really, touch it. Go ahead and experience it. Imagine at your next trade show or event, giving your customers and prospects a unique brand experience. Immersing them in your brand and creating an environment for them to not just see, but to virtually touch and feel your products and services. Multi-touch presentations enhance the touchscreen experience. Avery Marketing develops customized applications for multi-touch presentations. You can now interact with your media using multiple touches and gestures on video displays, giving your audience a customized, interactive experience that will leave them asking for more. To see some of our custom presentations and find out if multi-touch or any of our other marketing services are right for you, visit our website at averymarketing.com. Avery Marketing, fresh perspective, exceptional craft, inspired creative. Avery Marketing provides strategic brand marketing solutions that engage customers and prospects in your brand experience.